So let's continue along this vein. Sudanese-South African doctor and former Sudanese politician Dr. Abdul-Karim Elgoni is the chairperson of the Africa Diaspora Forum, ADF. He joins us now to talk a little bit more about this. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. What is the latest that you're hearing from Khartoum at the moment?
Thank you very much for bringing Sudan to the media again. What happened is that just a few hours ago, one Sudanese youth have martyred in a suburb of Khartoum, Omdurman, out of the riots that are happening in different sectors of Khartoum. So the Sudanese are still standing up for their rights, for freedom and change, and the military are insisting on killing their own people. And this is completely unacceptable and understandable.
We'll get to the issue of the 7 martyrs, as they have been dubbed. Just over the past 2 days in the main, what are the numbers of people that you are told have been injured? Some say it's more than 100 in the March of Millions, which started on Monday. What can you tell us around that?
See, the Sudanese Medical Doctors Association has a team that follows up all the movement of injured people into the different hospitals, and they produce a daily list of everything that is happening. The official figures now, including today, are 8 people who have martyred since the 17th, and more than 120. And as you know, many people don't go to hospitals for fear of being taken out of hospitals, because of late the military started attacking hospitals and taking people from hospital beds, torturing them, and they disappear, and we don't know what is happening to them. So this figure that we are saying of the people who are injured are for those who have been to hospitals. There are people who prefer not to go there.
And the 7 martyrs, the secondary school children who were killed, as they have been dubbed, they've become the face of this, a generation, another generation, should I say, who fear living under continual oppression. Do you think it will bring to the world with as much force as possible just how vulnerable the people of the Sudan are, given that 2 years ago, there was elation from those who were against the regime of President Hassan Omar al-Bashir, even though it was an inclusive government. But now you're down to this, where school children, who are obviously part of the protests, are being killed.
Yes, the school kids and even the university students are very proud of South Africa, and they look at a number of similarities between the experience with apartheid and the experience with the 30 years military rule, and with the magic of Mandela and the hope for a better future for South Africans. So they are looking for South Africa as a model that has kept peace despite animosities between the two parties, and kept the country going, and kept the different services and education going. But in Sudan, that is not happening. The military in Sudan have decided to go the other route, that they continue killing their people after what has happened in Darfur and other areas of Sudan. And the Sudanese are actually very proud of the South African government, who stood by the revolution, who supported the move for democracy in Sudan, who pushed the AU to consider what has happened in Sudan as a military coup, to keep recognizing our ambassador, the people's ambassador, who is in Pretoria as the official ambassador for the Sudanese revolution. All those things people recognize and appreciate, that South Africa is a model. And they are still looking for the Mandela magic to go to Sudan and try to bring peace between the different parties.
It was reported that Khartoum came to a standstill in the middle of this disobedience campaign. Speaking to the numbers of people who are combined or united in their quest to bring an end to military occupation. But as you mentioned, the role that South Africa has played in other countries, more importantly, the regional bodies, there has been international outcry, but outcry, as we know, can never be enough to bring an end to a situation like this, which could easily spiral out of control and see more killings of protesters on the streets of Khartoum. What are you calling for? What are you asking for from the international community, particularly the regional entities in Africa?
There was a meeting in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia called for by Saudi Arabia, the World Bank, and other dignitaries, and we were expecting something out of it. But when it was degraded from a big conference to a small conference that is attended by ambassadors, we felt that it means that the military has stood its grounds and is insisting on killing its people. And actually, some other bad sign that we have seen today is a visit that was happening from the Mossad to Sudan today, where they came and met with Abdul-Fattah in Khartoum. And actually, the Israelis also came immediately after the coup. In October last year, they came to Sudan, and we are unhappy that they are trying to bring some support to the military and keep the situation as it is, together with other countries that are encouraging the military to stand their stance and push the Sudanese people to the periphery. We are scared that what has happened in Syria, what has happened in Libya, what has happened in Yemen is not a far possibility if the military insisted on killing its own people.
And I'm glad you bring that up, Doctor.
This is why we believe that people like South Africa can help in bringing the two, the military and the civilian movement together.
I'm glad you bring that up, Dr. Elgoni. As you mentioned, there were these talks in Saudi Arabia. There were the U.S. envoys who were in the Sudan recently. The question many would ask is what really kept them out of that. But as you mentioned, the ideological divisions, might I say, that maybe as a result of this, how the north of Africa can see how the matter ought to be resolved and which factions in the political sphere in the Sudan that they support, as opposed to those who are perhaps within the AU, their approach on how to resolve this. It also speaks to the ethnic divisions within the Sudan, and which are the root cause of the conflict as well. This would require some high-level concerted efforts, talks that are frank about what the real problems are. So who do you think would have the legitimacy to head that for the sanctity of the democracy of the people of the Sudan?
You see, the African Union has adopted a policy of supporting democratization of African politics. And that was a very good stance supported by many African countries, including South Africa. The Sudanese has been ruled by military for the 30 years, and for the last 2 years, we decided to come to an agreement between the military and the civilian to keep a road open for a democratic government to come in 3 years. After 1.5 years, the military found that they cannot tolerate a civilian rule in Sudan and decided to go for a military coup that was not agreed on by the African Union. What we hope for is that the African Union, together with countries that have seen the benefits of democracy, South Africa, Nigeria, Ethiopia, and other African countries that have seen the benefits of civilian governments, to keep pressing the military and to keep supporting the civilians with all types of support until democracy morning comes up in Sudan.
Dr. Elgoni, some might balk at my asking this question. The fact, particularly when you look at how the International Criminal Court, its involvement or attempt to be involved in the politics of the Sudan was regarded. But what is happening now, do you believe that it falls within the purview of crimes against humanity where the International Criminal Court could get involved? And I say this because I believe the legal fraternity, legal advisors at the Ministry of Justice in the Sudan itself are questioning the constitutionality of the current Sovereignty Council, saying it has absolutely no place. So is there a legal framework where these can be brought to an international stage to say, we will force you to halt hostilities and to deal with the casualties from a legal standpoint?
There are some people in Sudan and outside Sudan who kept in the last few months saying, if you give the military amnesty for all the wrongs that they have done, it might create a better atmosphere for a peaceful transition to democracy. The thing that we are saying is that no one can take the right of those who have martyred, those who have been killed illegally, those who have lost their daily bread, those who have lived in fear, those women who left the children who are orphaned. No one has the right to delete their ambition to get justice. So we saw those should be delayed, and we should look at something like the South African reconciliation process or Rwanda process that can bring in some peace to Sudan, because if we take revenge on everything, things won't go forward. But what we wanted to say is that the issue is more complex. The issue of justice is just one part of it. Freedom is needed. We are all unable. The freedom of economy. People are unable to get the food on the table. Education is in tatters. Especially now, COVID-19 have made things worse. We are saying the Sudanese condition is very complex, but priorities are priorities. Our priority is to put a civilian rule in control. The choice of the people will always lead us through the right path. The military have been tested and tested and tested, and they have only brought disaster, not only to Sudan, but to every country where the military have ruled. The military are just like the other professions. Their responsibility is to keep the borders, just like our profession as doctors is to keep people healthy. There is no right for us to rule Sudan, and there is no right for the military to rule Sudan. It's for the people to choose. If they choose a military, we have no problem with that. If they choose a lawyer, we have no problem with that. But our fight and our hope for the South Africans, like you and the government, is to support the transition to a civilian government. As I'm talking to you, I just received the message that this morning, the National Ummah Party met with the United Nations team in Sudan, who is trying to support democracy in Sudan. And they were discussing a way out of this that should happen within 45 days, where the military should go out of politics and allow a transition to civilian rule. We hope that the United Nations and the regional bodies, the African Union, will all put the hands together with all the political parties and the youth and women in Sudan to find a solution that will take us out of this mess, the way that, and we hope that the Mandela Magic will visit us so that he can give us a way out of this mess.
Thank you so much.